So tonight, when it gets dark out and you start to get sleepy, remember that this is Jehovah's design. And remember the point, that he wants us to have a balanced routine. But why do we need to work in harmony with these natural cycles? If we're patient and we get sufficient sleep, we'll maintain good health. And in fact, the video mentions some of those different benefits that we could enjoy. Do you remember some of them? It mentions sleep allows the body to recuperate. Some believe that it helps the brain to reset and to remove toxins, and it also helps our long-term memory. But for us to get these full benefits, we need sufficient sleep. So how much sleep is that? Well, for adults, it's recommended that we get 8 hours of sleep each night. Well, what happens if we're impatient and we try to accomplish more than is reasonable without sufficient sleep? We could actually harm ourselves and accomplish less in the long run. Chronic overwork has been linked to things like accidents, anxiety, heart disease, and substance abuse. So as the Awake magazine cautioned, don't let your profession become your obsession. We know that sleep is a necessity, not a luxury.
We've just been watching Bram Siegel, who is a Bethelite from the Warwick, New York headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses. He's taking us through the convention item, What Creation Can Teach Us About Jehovah's Timing Land Mammals. And I found these particular words about sleep very, very interesting. So Bram Siegel has been, and I don't know how his surname is pronounced, so I'm just imagining Siegel in my mind. But Bram Siegel has been arguing very eloquently for the need for sleep, for sufficient sleep. And he's been explaining that if you don't get enough sleep, this can have adverse effects, not just on your productivity, but on your health. So getting enough sleep is actually a health issue. You can be unhealthy, you can, I don't know, get sick, get very ill if you're not getting enough sleep. And if you get involved in, as he said there, chronic overwork. Compare these comments that Bram Siegel's just made with the following footage, which is a behind closed doors video that was made purely for Bethelites. It's a conversation between Kenneth Flodine, governing body helper, and Ron Curzon, governing body helper. Both are looking back on the early days of AVS, the Audio Video Services Department at Bethel, and they're specifically looking back on the very first ever installment of the Caleb and Sophia Become Jehovah's Friend cartoons, which was released at conventions as a DVD.
I had another question for you. What many families are enjoying, and young people, are the animated series, Caleb and Sophia. It'd be kind of interesting to know the history of that. How did that start?
There's a little bit of a backstory on that one. Probably now it's been maybe 17 years ago. We had done the Noah video with artwork, but it didn't move much. And we were doing the David, and I approached the teaching committee at the time, which was a totally different teaching committee, totally different governing body, and said, wouldn't it be nice to do animated videos for children? And at the time they said no, because they didn't want to take the dignity of the message of God's word and reduce it to cartoons. Well, that's the faithful slave, and so I never said another word. But about maybe 15 years after that, or 13 years after that, I asked to come down to Brooklyn, and one of the first things Brother Morris came up to me and said was that the governing body has approved animated videos for children. I went, whoa, 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 whoa. But the timing wasn't right back then, and probably the technology wasn't right back then. But now that was approved, and so I was just thrilled. But then he said, and we want it released at this next convention in as many languages as possible. And so I was like, whoa. So as always, AVS steps up to the plate, makes it commission possible. And so just to tell you what happened, that little crew, they had done animation, moving the world around, making Bibles flow, but to do the human form is the most difficult. And so they got on the tools, but we have very difficult, hard due dates. And to make some of those dates, the brothers worked 30 hours straight on their computer. And we finally brought beds up into the department so that they could take a 2 or 3 hour nap and get back on their computer to finish it up. So it was just a beautiful thing, and look what it's done for the world. And they don't have that problem now. They got more help, but also we don't have to get 7 languages on one DVD now. So that's what was the kind of choke point on that one.
Well, thanks for sharing that, and we appreciate all of your years of making what was impossible possible by means of Jehovah.
Isn't that interesting? So when the first Caleb and Sophia cartoons were released, lessons 1 and 2 as a DVD at the convention, before the days of JW Broadcasting and the website, I think this was 2012 as memory serves. It was the whole Sparlock cartoon where Caleb comes home with a toy that his friend has given him. It's a warrior wizard. And he has to throw it in the dumpster, in the wheelie bin, because otherwise he would be making Jehovah sad. That cartoon, we learn from this leaked video that ordinary Jehovah's Witnesses aren't supposed to watch, that Bethelites were working 30-hour shifts to get that video made. They were getting 2 to 3 hour naps in between shifts, and beds were brought into the offices so that they could sleep near their desk. So how does that fit in with what Jehovah's Witnesses have just been told about not only how balanced sleep and getting enough sleep is advantageous, but how it's actually a health issue? And if you're not getting enough sleep, if you are in a cycle of chronic overwork, this is bad for your health. What does it say about Jehovah's organization if this is the sort of stuff they can justify in order to meet a deadline? If you're interested in watching the whole thing, by the way, here is a thumbnail to my televangelism video. There's actually quite a few more anecdotes, particularly from Ken Flodine in that particular footage, which I think ordinary rank and file Jehovah's Witnesses would find quite illuminating. But what does it say about Jehovah's organization if sometimes in their projects and in their assignments, they are making Bethelites complete tasks to arbitrary deadlines at the expense of their health?